Greetings, this is M squared, and we are going to write some equations of lines. Now, what we've been given is the slope and a point, and every time you write an equation of a line, those are the two things you need. We are going to write our equations in slope-intercept form. Well, that means we have to have a slope and the y-intercept. So if we don't have the y-intercept, we have to find it using some algebra. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this one. Since they gave us a slope of -2, we already know that our equation is going to say y equals -2x. Then we try to look at this point, and I always like to look and see if it's the y-intercept. If it's the y-intercept, the x will be 0. Notice that that's -7, not 0, which means I have to find the y-intercept. So what I do is I take my y equals mx plus b, and I'm going to substitute and solve for b. This is my m, my x, and my y, and I simply plug those things in for my equation and find b. So my y is -5, my m is -2, my x is -7, and I don't know b yet. That's what I'm trying to find. And then I just solve this equation for b. Well, -2 times -7 is 14. So I now have 14, and to get rid of it, so I get b alone, I'm minus 14. So I get a -19 equals b. And then once I know what b is, I simply put it right there in my equation, and that's my answer. Let's try another one. This is my x, my y, and my m. So I know it's going to be y equals -1/3 x plus or minus b. So then I always check my point. If x is 0, that's my b. And x is 0, so I simply put plus 5. Now, if you didn't notice that because you didn't check, you could still do it the way we did it over here and say 5 equals -1/3 times x plus b and solve for b. This is 0, and so b equals 5. I mean, you'd still get it, but it's easier if you take the time every time you have a point to see if the point is the y-intercept. Okay, let's try this one. We know we have a 0 slope. Now, you have to, it's really nice to memorize the 0 slopes and the undefined slopes and what that means, because when you have a line with a 0 slope, we know it's a horizontal line. We know it's a y equals line. That means there's no x. Like these equations have an x and a y. Horizontal lines only have y's. Vertical lines only have x's. So if I know my slope is 0, I just look right there. Say what's y? Y is -5, so there's my equation. Now, if you did that out, like, if we said -5 equals, let's see, 0 times 3 plus b, and this is 0, and you get b equals -5. And then if you said, oh, well, then y equals 0 times x minus 5, you could write it like that, but you'll never see it written like that in a textbook. You'll always see them actually take the 0 times the x, say it's 0 minus 5, so that's a -5. So you won't see it this way. So you have to ask your teacher if that's okay to write it like that, but it's easier just to remember slope is 0, just look at the y and say y equals that, and there's no x. Okay, our last one, we know it's going to be y equals 1/4 x plus or minus something. We look at that to see if it's our y-intercept. It is not. So we put in, remember that's our x and our y. We say -3 is equal to 1/4 of 8 plus b. 1/4 of 8 is 2. And I minus 2 from both sides to get my b, and b is -5, so I simply take -5 and put it up there, and then I have the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Good luck doing that. M squared, signing out.